Hello everybody, I'm back again. This time I will continue my discussion about Masters of the Universe Classics, the Evil Horde members. So this would be, in a way, part 2 of the ongoing discussion. I will start again with another version of Hordak, which I already mentioned in one of the previous videos, but I didn't show him. This would be the Hurricane Hordak. Uh, he is based on the same exact figure from the 1980s, which was also called Hurricane Hordak, and he came with these different kind of hand attachments that are removable, and instead of you can practically put any attachments even from Roboto and Trapjaw, and you can just uh, mix these attachments back and forth between the three characters. Now when you remove this attachment, and he came with two more, one that looks like red bat wings, and another one. So roughly there were about three different ones. The third one looks more like a big propeller with four pointers. So if you remove the attachment, his arm turns into his arm cannon, which was already seen in the Filmation series. I will not talk about the biography of Hordak this time around because I already mentioned it in the part 1 of this discussion when I showed an attempted version of Filmation Hordak that was made. So I'll just continue talking about the figure itself. I have placed in his arm, on his left arm, the red bat pet. It didn't really come with this figure, it came with the regular Hordak version, which I will talk about in another video. The armor is removable, however, it's also quite breakable because it was made sort of out of a plastic that has the golden coloring over it. And the golden coloring can sort of easily start to chip. And it's not very well done in that regard because the chipping can be quite serious in some cases, especially if you try to remove the armor. The head is removable. It has the horde symbol in an armband that's also that you can also put on his arm. He has the typical articulation for this kind of figure, and he has the molded button that was supposed to mimic his action feature from the old days, that if you spin it, then the propeller or any hand attachment would start to spin. But Mattel is not trying to mimic those features anymore, so they're just making the figures with minus the action figure feature. In some cases of some figures they cannot avoid the feature, so they somehow built it in a different way. Anyway, so this would be the Hurricane Hordak. One of the characters who is closely associated with him is Shadow Weaver. She never had a figure before, so this is the only one that was made. I've seen some pretty decent custom figures of her that were made to look like 1980s figures, but in reality this is her very first original figure that was done by Mattel. She came with this little magic stuff, and she came also with this black book of magic that cannot be opened. But this is what she holds in her arms. But the book is very easily able to fall out, so that's why I don't keep it in her hand. She also came with a little plastic attachment so that you can put that attachment here at the bottom underneath her clothes and make her sort of levitate above the ground as if she's floating. She is a known character from the very first episode of She-Ra, Princess of Power, and she's known to be very closely associated and working with Hordak in scheming new plans against the rebellion. And she was the one who put the curse on the young Princess Adora in order to brainwash her to serve the evil horde. Her spell was broken by Sorceress and He-Man when they found Adora and managed to bring her mind back to the side of the good. The Shadow Weaver never stopped trying to get Adora back for the evil horde, but all her attempts always failed. This figure was an exclusive figure for the subscription holders for the Masters of the Universe Classics fans in the year 2012. So she's quite an interesting character, and she has limited articulation due to the fact that she has these plastic rubbery robes that she's wearing, but she has articulation in her arms. The legs are covered in a long red skirt, so there is practically no articulation there. However, she does have articulation in her waistline to make her being able to sit down. The arm articulation is limited due to the fact that she has a sculpted rubbery cape at the back that limits the movements of her arms, unfortunately. And this cape cannot be removed unless you cut it completely off on the sides, which I do not recommend because it could damage the figure. So anyway, it's a shadow weaver and an enchantress of a sort who knows dark magic. The third character in this discussion will be Scorpia. Scorpia is also known to be one of the main villains of the evil horde and serving under Hordak, and she showed up in numerous episodes of the She-Ra Princess of Power Filmation series, but she never had the figure before. So this is the actual first figure of her, and it was made to look exactly accurate in regards to how she looks in the Filmation series. She came with her rubbery scorpion tail, which has no articulation, and she has no removable armors. She does have pretty much the same type of articulation as numerous females in the Masters of the Universe, and she comes with interesting scorpion-shaped horde crossbow as her weapon, and her head is also removable. She showed up, as I said, in the Filmation cartoon series most of all, and I do know that she had some appearances in some of the comics from that time period in regards to He-Man. So that would be Scorpia. Another female villain who serves under Evil Horde, aside from Scorpia and Shadow Weaver, would be Katra. Katra has the power of turning herself into a purple cat or pantera by putting this facial mask over her eyes. She came with this mask, which is removable. She came with her shield and a sword. She also came with a whip that looks sort of like a cat whip, because her vintage figure also comes with that kind of whip. She also is looking quite different from her vintage figure, because for one thing, this representation of her looks exactly like she'd looked in the Filmation cartoon series, where she had numerous appearances, fighting along Hordak against She-Ra. And she would be usually shown together with Scorpia, the two of them working together and leading the troopers to cause trouble on Etheria for the Great Rebellion. She also came with another mask, which is silver in color and looks more cat-like than this one, that can be also attached, and that mask is the same mask that her vintage action figure is wearing. So you can pose her with two different masks. A silver one that looks like a cat's face, and then this particular one which can help her transform into a purple pantera. I'm not saying that her secondary shape is a pantera, it's just that to me it looks like a female panther in a purple color, a bit smaller in size than Skeletor's cat. So that would be Katra. Another character closely associated with Evil Horde is Dragstor here. He has an interesting biography that he used to be an athlete on Eternia, who was captured together with another friend of his, and they were both put into some nasty experimentation by Hordak, and then his friend became Extendar, and he joined later to the He-Man and the Good Warriors, and his friend here became a human cyborg machine called Dragstor, using a big wheel on his chest to move around really fast, and he practically joined the evil side. And Extendar never stopped trying to free his friend and to make him a good guy once more. So far he failed in that attempt. Dragstor exists as a vintage figure. He did show up in some mini comics and some other comics about He-Man, but he did not have an appearance in the Filmation series, not that I can recall it. And he came with some interesting bodily attachments that make him look like a racing car, and of course he has the wheel on his chest, but that wheel is not movable. In his vintage version the wheel does move, and he can practically be used as a small car on flat surfaces. In this case he also came with a modified version of his crossbow, which looks more like a car engine, and he came on with another weapon that never existed in his vintage version, which is this a semi-battle axe on the top of a whip. So Dragstor is another classic member of the evil horde that got an upgrade in this series. And the final character, as far as this discussion goes, for the moment, we'll close it with Vultak. Vultak is a character and sort of a dungeon keeper for the evil horde, and he looks like practically like a bird of prey because he has these big wings, and he has a small whip that's turned, that has a collar at the end, with which he can capture Cowl, the little owl that serves with bow. So the whip looks like, with the collar, looks sort of like this, and he comes with a crossbow that's shaped like a bird, but it's still supposed to resemble a evil horde crossbow. His armor is his armor seems to be removable in the head as well, but I never tried to do that so far. And here's how the crossbow looks like. And he has the regular articulation, just like most of the Masters of the Universe classics. And he was shown in 1 or 2 episodes of the Filmation cartoon series. His head is removable, and those were the only weapons he came with. And he's quite an interesting character altogether because he looks like a mutated Birdman. So that would be the story of his particular story. And with this character I would like to close this discussion, and I will update you next time where we will continue part 3 of the discussion of the evil horde members. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.